So the Bible and our tradition teach that humankind is created in the image and likeness of God. One God that we experience in three aspects or persons. So as our ancestor in faith, Martin Luther, liked to ask, what does this mean? Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. When God, Elohim, began to create the heavens and the earth was complete chaos, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind or a ruach of God brooded over the face of the waters. A couple weeks ago, talking about the mothering of God, this ruach is a feminine word, and Elohim is a divine plurality. It's the council of the gods, or a God so big, it's too much for one. I thought about God as a murmuration. This is a picture of a bunch of birds, and here they go. What did you notice as you watched? How do you feel about that? Wow is the most normal thing. Feel free to Google murmurations, and you check it on YouTube. If you Google human murmurations, we have to practice. But they're pretty cool, too. I love the idea that, and this is where I'm living with Holy Trinity, that God created all of creation to live and move and have our being in the spiritual flow of God, to be murmuration in the divine image. So, scholar and activist Lisa Sharon Harper, she's a black woman theologian, we're supposed to pay attention to those, reminds us that this creation litany is some of the youngest writing in the Hebrew Bible, trying to make sense of 70 years as refugees and aliens for Israel in Babylon. So think of living under the Soviet Union, or Palestine's under Israel, or indigenous peoples on their trails of tears chased by American soldiers. It's heartbreak and horror and deep, deep, dark chaos. That's when we speak into a new telling and a new stirring of the wind and the Spirit. A God so big that they're plural broods and births good after good after good. Is that news we need today? Yes. So God, and then at the end of the week, God creates humans in their image. In the tselem, or the icon, familiar word for any of you? In the icon, in the image of God, they created them. Male and female, God created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, and the fruit of the Spirit is. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue. Kabosh it. I'm like, wait a second. Put the kibosh on it? Is that where that word comes from? And have dominion over, or radah, every living thing. And it was so. So there are standout points here. There is a lot to say, but this is where I want to land. Human beings are image bearers of the divine. I was taught in my Renovari program to call you image bearers. Friends, you are image bearers. Image bearers of the divine. And an icon, or a tselem, represents an aspect of what the divine image is. So each of you represent a portion of God, an expression of God's being in the world, as does every other thing ever created. Because in the divine creative act, in the artistry of God, all of this is God's poema, or masterpiece, yeah? So, all of this, all of us, image bearers. Every human then is blessed to put the kibosh on, subdue or control or exercise, I'm going to say, godlike dominion over our environment. So I believe that right now in our world, we're having a bit of a disagreement about what godlike dominion might look like. On the one end, I always start on the left side, which is not where I'm leaning. On the one end, there is the use it up for wealth and power. On the other end, there is humans are bad, don't touch anything. I'm going to say that the divine image and that the Trinity, the murmuration of Trinity, gives us another way to move. So, as the Bible tells it, Jesus was sent from Creator, who is named Elohim, the divine plurality, or the breath of God, and filled with the brooding, birthing ruach, or spirit. In Greek, pneuma. Engineers, what are pneumatics? It's air-powered power, right? If Jesus then lived and teaches us what a true icon of the divine is, then what kind of kibosh or subjugation does Jesus exercise? What kind of dominion does Jesus establish? Or maybe, what kind of a ruler would Jesus be in a country today? Or maybe at the top of a corporation, at a corporal structure, what would Jesus' headship indicate? So this image is an actual icon from the 1400s in Russia. How many of you have seen it? I'm certain, yes. I have a Russian scholar. Yes. It's known as the Trinity. What do you notice about the figures? Just shout out words, shout them loud. They all have halos. They're holy. What else? They're humanesque. Did I get that right? What? Their heads are bowed. There's a cup. It's a meal. Yeah? They're together and not separate. Facing each other. They're kind of leaned in toward each other, right? Do you see that there's a square underneath the cup? It's believed that that was for a mirror. So who else is in this image? We are. This image invites us to take our place at the table with the Trinity. Is that nifty or what? So we are drawn into communion with the Trinity. We'll later during communion sing a song called Come Join the Dance of Trinity. That's where we're headed. So Jesus says, all authority on heaven and earth has been given to me. This is our gospel lesson today. Go, therefore, and make disciples. A disciple is an apprentice. If you're going to update the word, it's an apprentice of the master. So learning. Make apprentices of all people, students of them, washing them in the name. When it says to baptize in the name of, it means soak them in the divine essence, reality, character, way of being. Make sense? Pour it on them, people. It doesn't mean fire hose them and get them to say the right things. It means pour on the love, the compassion, the way of being that Jesus lived and died for. Teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. What are the actual commands of Jesus? And remember, I am with you always to the end of the age. As apprentices, we are bathed in the very character of the Trinity. Our culture says, get ahead, look good, use any means, it's your right, milk it for all it's worth, squeeze it dry, stamp them out, right? And sometimes our religious movements fall in. That makes sense. It's regrettable, but understandable. Jesus, well, so this is how Paul says it then. In 2 Corinthians, there are a bunch of problems going on, and Paul talks to his friends in Corinth about them, friends of Jesus in Corinth. And at the end of the book, he says this, in the words of our First Nations siblings, "My sacred family members, mend your ways, walk side by side with each other, sharing the same purpose and living in harmony with one another. In this way, the great Spirit who gives love and peace will walk with you on the road of life." Can you imagine a murmuration in those words? And then he ends, as we began, "The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all." Where do you notice healthy murmurations in the world? Not just among birds. What do you think, Barb? In emergency rooms. How about in food banks, too? And at protests. And anybody gone to a sporting event? It's a murmuration of joy. I think it's too much money, but it's joyful. Where? Often family gatherings can be murmurations. And concerts, yes. Oh, I'm going to Brandy on Friday. It will be a murmuration. Yeah? Choirs are murmurations. Yes, worship is a murmuration. And so are yes, Ginny? Grateful Dead concerts. Taylor Swift made murmurations. Oh my goodness. Murmurations. One of my invitations to you this week is notice the murmurations around you. And also notice so I'm going to acknowledge that murmurations can go bad. And I'm going to acknowledge that even in the best of murmurations, sometimes there are crashes. I'm going to skip a bit. So there are this week, 13 days ago, both pastors at Gloria Dei Lutheran, our sister congregation across town, resigned after a very, very difficult season, after a very difficult year. And when something like that happens in town, there are people who grew up at Gloria Dei attending Shelton, and they talked about that at the church council meeting last week. It reverberates all over the community, and it rings the bells of all of us who have experienced breakups in our families and in our church families. And we all wonder why. And I will not and cannot speak to all the particulars of it, but I will tell you that in a murmuration, as in a church or a family, every bird, you saw this, pays close attention to the 6 or 7 other birds that are its nearest neighbors. And if that doesn't happen, then there are crashes. There are minute and critical adjustments that need to be made all the time. And so these are the minute and critical adjustments that we need to make, always. We need to be saying, I love you and I respect you. We need each other in this community. I've heard it said that no one is No one is indispensable. Everyone is irreplaceable. You are not a replaceable person, even if you're only here today. I love you, I respect you, and I need you. Ouch! If it hurts, say, ow, that hurt. And if someone says, ouch, that hurt, say, I'm sorry. You can Google how to make a good apology and what a bad apology looks like. I forgive you. And how shall we work this out now? If we don't do this work, then we lose the free flow and beauty and grace of the murmuration. And this is what Jesus commanded us. Yeah? This is Matthew 18. We got the end of Matthew. Teach them all that I've commanded you. This is Matthew 18ing. So, let's see. The good news here, when you come to the table today, you are invited to come as you are, no strings attached. And you are invited when we share the peace here in a few minutes. If you know that you have someone that you have some work to do with, you are invited to head toward that person and say, let's talk. You don't have to get it all done right now. At least set an intention. And then come. Communion is a murmuration. It's a receiving into our very own bodies the presence of God through a physical sign and a promise. I am here, always, to the end of the age. So come. Come with faith that we can make that kind of beauty happen here, and that we are making that kind of beauty happen here in our worship services, in our acts of service, in our parties and family gatherings, in our installations, and our taking communion to the homebound, in our children's ministries, all of these things. Have faith and lean in. God is here, always, and getting it done. So, it takes practice to make a human murmuration. So we're going to practice. Let's see, we'll get set up. I'll ring the bell. We'll get set up. And then we'll practice a song for my installation service next week so that you feel comfortable. Consider what is God's invitation as you come into the dance of Trinity this week.